welcome everybody to another episode of the Good Game Pods. I'm your host Sam Renema, flying solo today, but it doesn't matter. There's a lot to cover. Obviously, the State of Origin sides for Game 2 down there in Melbourne have been named, and there's a lot of chat, obviously, around some of the decisions. We're gonna kind of break down some of the changes that have been made, especially with New South Wales making 5 or 6 changes, which is a lot to a quote unquote winning side. So I'll break that down, why it's quote unquote. But first off, before we go through each of the squads, I guess I gotta get this off my chest again. New South Wales did make a number of changes. Some of them were forced through injury. Some of them are players that are coming back that would have been there for game 1 anyway. But it's kind of interesting to see that, a lot of people have, man, I've been getting grilled on social. Queenslanders have been coming after me. New South Wales wouldn't have won, if it hadn't been for the send-off, and I get that. Like, we were fortunate. We took advantage of it. Still wasn't guaranteed the win. New South Wales still had to score the tries and score the points. It came down to the last play of the game. But excuse me if I sound sick, by the way, because, I've been cooking the last couple of days. But New South Wales still had to score, and a lot of people have been coming after me and about, they wouldn't have won if Queensland had 13 players. A lot of New South Wales legends and analysts believe the same thing. I'm not arguing against that. All right, I'm not arguing that Queensland being a man down, a defender down for the last 23 minutes, worked in our favor. I agree, of course. All right. We couldn't do anything about it. It's like, no, it wasn't our fault that Ashley Klein sent him off. But sorry, my sniffling nose kind of puts me off sometimes. Apologies for that. I can't take days off. I'm not big enough for someone else to take over the pods. But but Queensland got off to a 20-point lead, right? Let's not forget, right? Let's remember, Queensland got off to a 20-point lead in the first 20 minutes, right? Again, a lot of people believe that we wouldn't have won had Ponga not get sent off, and I get that. So, but at the same breath, they're like criticizing New South Wales for making so many changes to a quote unquote winning side. Like, according to a lot of the critics, they wouldn't have won anyway. So if you feel like we wouldn't have won anyway, then you can understand why we're making so many changes. It's just ironic that, people are like, you're making a change. We only won by 2 points, and it came down to the last play. We were literally one play away from a comeback, or one play away from everyone calling us New South Wales chokers for the next couple of weeks. So that's how close it was. That's what it came down to, the last play. So to think, just because we won by 2 points at the death, that we shouldn't make that many changes, I think is ridiculous. I can understand why we made so many changes. Maybe you might question some of the changes. I get that, and we're going to get into that. But I just wanted to get that off my chest first, because people are criticizing New South Wales for making so many changes, but we only won by 2, and we got off to a very poor start, very, very poor start, and we can't afford to get, to give Queensland that kind of lead in game 2. Otherwise, we'll get punished for it. We were fortunate that Ponga got sent off. Can't blame us for it. We just played what's in front of us, but. So I can understand, again, a lot of the players that have been recalled apparently would have been there in game 1, and some of the players that had to drop out because of injury, I think they may not have gotten picked anyway, so that was kind of I think that helped them save face anyway. So yeah, so I just wanted to say that because people question why so many changes to winning side. We won by 2 points, and according to everyone, we only won because of the send off. So hence the 5 or 6 changes. So yeah, as I get into it, obviously there's a lot of contentious selections, but fullback James Tedesco, wingers is To'o and Kola. In the centers is McLean's in his starting debut with Stags. In the halves, Mitchell Moses. I think Mitchell has until Thursday to prove his fitness. Moses in the halves with Cleary. We welcome Payne Haas back. He's a welcomed addition. Payne Haas in the front row with Mitch Barnett and Reece Robson packing down at hooker. Hudson Young and Dylan Lucas making his debut in the back row with the captain Isaiah Yeo. On the interchange bench is Cameron Murray, Victor Radley, Adam Funua Blake, Apisai Korasau, Ethan Strange, and Mark Nawanganitawase. And probably the most contentious decision of them all is Hamoli Olakawatu at 20th man. Okay. Again, obvious changes there. Some forced, some not. And I'm probably going to touch on fans have been the most vocal about Hamole being relegated to 20th man, and he's a beast. Olakawatu is a beast, and everyone just knows him for his club form, and where I think in his last game against South, he 22 runs for 266 meters, kind of 100 plus post contact meters, tackle breaks, 1,000 tackle breaks, it's his statistics, and he was one of the better performing forwards in game one, with his run meters, his post contact meters, and all of that. And I get that. This is probably the selection that fans have been the most passionate about, and a lot of fans are kind of scratching their heads about, why was he dropped? He seemed like he had a great game in game one, but I kind of went through the replay last night because I just wanted to get an understanding what are the selectors seeing that we're not seeing, all right? And again, Olakwatu is an amazing player. He's a beast, and his stats say that he outperformed the other forwards, and I've already made videos about this, about stats, and how they can kind of be deceiving. And when I watched the replay, I kind of was watching Olakwatu's movements very closely. Excuse me. I was watching his movements very closely, and yeah, kind of interesting to see some of the things that I personally picked up. Again, I don't want to come out like we're bashing the guy, man. He's a phenomenal player. And at the start of the game, his kick pressure was on point. It was phenomenal. Every time Cleary would kick it downfield on the last, like he was pretty much in the face of Cobo. When he was catching it, Cobo or Ponga. So he put a lot of pressure on the receivers, which was great energy. But I kind of noticed as the game went on and under fatigue, I think he made some poor decisions. Which I guess obviously we don't pick up in while watching the game live. And again, he done a lot of good things. But I noticed like there was a break that Queensland made on the left hand side. I think Cobbo made a break, and for whatever reason, Olakuatu was on the other side of the field, like he wasn't in his normal defensive position, and it kind of had the back rower there, the front rower there, kind of defending out of position, and they went to that edge straight away. And but the thing was, there was no reason for him to be on the other side of the field. Um, I have no idea why he was over there. He didn't, it's not like Queensland made a break and then he was running over there to make a cover tackle. He just was in the middle of the ruck, and it kind of left his front rower exposed there on the edge, and they made a breakdown there. Now that's the one where Cobbo makes a break down the sideline, and Teddy tackles him fairly. Doesn't shoulder charge him, tackles him fairly. So yeah, just seeing something like that, and and I encourage you to go back and look at Flegler's try. Flegler's try. Just pay attention to the spacing between Olakawatu and Isaiah Yo. Like Hamola is about 10 or 15 meters away from Yo. I don't understand why he's so far away. When you actually look at his ball watching, like he's just watching Harry Grant and assuming that Grant's going to be tackled. So he stops moving his feet and then rushes over quickly when Grant gets the offload and Sam Walker tips it on to Flegler, who runs through that gap. Now, whether or not I believe Olakawatu would have made that tackle anyway, I'm not sure. It's the fact that he's wasn't kind of thinking, I guess. I don't know where his headspace was at the time, but he does switch off in moments. I did notice that. Again, I know he was criticised for running that line where, he was penalised for an obstruction against Harry Grant because he ran to his chest when Ethan Strange's first disallowed try. First try was disallowed. And, and that could come down to fatigue as well. I must say that he's supposed to run at the inside shoulder, and that gap between Harry Grant and his inside defender was very, very narrow anyway. So I don't know if he was able to piece through that gap. I think he honestly expected to get the ball the way he was running. He thought he was going to get the ball and then run over Grant. So I can't really hold that against him. Unfortunately, the bomb try from New South Wales when Teddy threw it at his feet, that error was accredited to Olakawatu. So I can't really hold that against him. But he did come off straight after with cramps. I don't think I've ever seen. Excuse me. I don't think I've ever seen someone come off a state of origin for cramps. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably forgetting someone, but it was just to see that we can't really hold that against him, but he didn't make another error before that. Obviously, before he came off. At the play the ball again, fatigue, and New South Wales I feel like were getting a bit of momentum when he made that error. But there was one play in particular that really stood out to me when watching his game over, where Queensland spread it to the left, right, and as soon as Munster caught the ball, Cleary rushed up out of the line to jam him, and he took him ball and all. And Olakawatu was the inside defender. And when Cleary made that tackle, Cleary still had to wrestle Munster, right, before putting him on the ground. Like, they were still up for a few more seconds. Olakawatu just watched him. He just watched him and expected Nathan. Didn't come in to help. Nathan Murray came in late to help, but by the time Murray got to the tackle, Cleary already put him on the ground. But it was just that little stuff about not coming into that there are probably effort areas where he may have been lacking. So there were little moments. As good as his stats were, their stats are great. But what happens when you're not playing on the front foot? Can you still run over players? It's very difficult to run over players and to play Hamoli's style of football when there's no momentum, in all honesty. I feel like Murray can create momentum. Players like Murray, players like Yo, if there's no momentum, just their late footwork and their quick play the balls can create momentum. But um, look, in Olakawatu's defense, I feel like he wasn't brought into the game. His success at Manly comes down to a lot of combinations that he's built over years. I know. Fogarty has just come this year, but over the years he developed a combination with DCE on that right edge, with his centers, with Garrick. You know what I mean? So, um, and maybe he just found it difficult to adjust in a 10-day camp to build a combination that quickly. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas, thoughts, opinions, right? So maybe Hamoli, again, he's a late bloomer, and that's not holding that against him. He started playing league late, and it's kind of by chance that he just happened to be at a Manly training session with his friend Manasseh Fainu, and then got called up and asked to have a run. Next thing you know, he's playing first grade, which is a crazy story in itself. But yeah, just I know I feel like he wasn't utilized the way he should have been. Um and and that's not his fault. But again, what do you do when Origin becomes a grind? Have you got that, and he did. Again, his stats prove that he still tucked the ball under his arm and ran. He probably ran off the dummy half a little bit more than what the team would have liked. He wasn't really running off Cleary and identifying Monster as much, and attacking Monster one-on-one, isolating him in defense. And so, yeah, and unfortunately they worked against. But I do believe it was some of those effort areas that I noticed when watching the game over. Again, it's not going to be a popular opinion because everyone just sees the way he plays at Clubland, and just we kind of want him to that to transfer onto the Origin arena. But that's just some things that I picked up. And I know when the squads were named, when Laurie Daly named the squads, and people weren't happy with that decision, I get it. A lot of people went after Loz, and I've been a critic of him as well. A New South Wales legend. But I believe when it comes to coaching, I think he kind of is a bit slow with his game management, some of his interchanges. Who am I? Like he's a New South Wales legend. So when this decision was announced, I know a lot of people went after him. I get it. I've been a critic of some of his decisions before. But, he's got 3 assistant coaches who are also selectors. So you got Matt King, you got Brett White, and you got Boyd Cordner, right? Boyd Cordner. Now, I rate Boyd Cordner as a coach. He's won 2 SG Ball titles back-to-back with the Roosters. Assistant for Robbo. Obviously, he's a New South Wales legend, right? Most people, when they name their all-time New South Wales Origin side, he's in the back row, right? Legend, captain of the Roosters, captain of the Blues, captain of the Kangaroos. Like, if he hadn't had to retire prematurely when he was 28 because of constant head knocks, he would go down like, he's already going to go down as a legend, right? Hall of Fame and all of that stuff. And so people, when this decision was announced, Laurie Daly, I feel like it was an easy kind of victim in everyone's criticism. Yeah, I can, if you said, oh, it was Loz's decision to drop Olakwatu, everyone's criticizing him. How would we react if we were like, Boyd Cordner called it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I honestly believe Cordner is going to be a future Blues coach myself. People might say, oh, he only won titles with SG Ball, but uh, Billy Slater didn't have any coaching experience before he took over the helm at Queensland. You know what I mean? And I believe Cordner is in that same cut from the same cloth in terms of work ethic, in terms of footy IQ. And if anyone is going to point out anything about a back rower in some of the when it comes to effort areas, it's Boyd Cordner. Do you know what I mean? The way he played, he led by example. Like you might think, oh, Loz doesn't have any idea. Why would he drop Olakuatu? But maybe Boyd Cordner saw something as a New South Wales Blues second rower, you know, absolute legend. Maybe he saw something. And if we accredited this decision to something Cordner said, and this is just an opinion, I don't know. Maybe Cordner wanted Olakuatu. I don't know. But if we if it came out that this decision was on the back of something Cordner saw, no one will question it. No one will question it. Do you know what I mean? There's times when Billy Slater's left players out, Cobber out, Reece Walsh. No one questions it because it's Billy. You know, so that's what I'm thinking. You know, it's not just all Oz. You know, he's got assistant coaches, he's got selectors, he's got Boyd Connor, right, in his team, in his staff. So if Boyd Connor made that decision, again, it's speculation, but you know, if anyone is going to be a good judge of a back rower, it's Cordner, right? So again, New South Wales legend. He's going to be, if they I have a gut feeling, maybe Ivan Cleary may be considering something, a role in that a coaching role for New South Wales. But I honestly think we should groom Cordner for that role. So yeah, when I was kind of thinking like, why would they drop him? And Cordner just came to mind, and I'm like, if I saw those things watching the replay, I can just only imagine what Cordner saw. So yeah, unlucky for Hamole again. It wasn't his fault. They didn't kind of utilize him the way they should have. But also there were just some little things that I saw. Let's see this little, hey friend. Little things that I saw. Little effort areas that maybe people didn't notice. Because in Origin, if you're just like half a second off your assignment, you're gonna get punished, man. Because the opposition has, they have, your monsters, your Kalimpongers. They just see when you're out of place. They Harry Grant, you know what I mean? If there's a defender on the floor, he's taken off. So I feel like there were just little assignments that Olakawatu missed. And again, we were lucky to get away with the win, but it might cost us down the track. And I get it. And he's a great player. It's just hard for us to take our focus off the stats, take our focus off the barnstorming runs that he takes. He's running over people, he's setting up tries and tackle breaks and line breaks and all of that sort of stuff. I get it. But Origin is not just about that. It's just about the little effort areas. And that's just what I saw. That's my opinion. Don't come at me. Olakwatu is a beast of a player, so that's just what I saw. Because I was trying to figure out, like, why? Again, if you look at his numbers, why is it? And that, again, that tackle with Cleary, that really stood out. Like, he ball watches rather than coming in to help, So, yeah, that's just my opinion on that Olakawatu call. And I know Loz was kind of criticized because, again, everyone's asking him, why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why did you decide to name Olakawatu as 20th man? And he gave vague answers, right? He gave very, very vague answers. That didn't make sense, a lot of his answers. And a lot of people criticizing him is like, why, like that doesn't make sense. Your reasoning, like, what is it? Why did you drop him? This, that, no. Like, again, if they saw something in his game to give them a reason to relegate him to 20th man, why would you tell the press, like, he's still 20th man? If there's an injury in the camp in the next, 9 days, whatever, he's going to get the call up. And you've just told Queensland why you feel like, all the areas you feel like he needs to work in. Why would you do that? Like, why is this expectation on coaches to be completely 100% honest, and tell you everything that is like, why? What is it about? It's like, again, um if he was completely honest, and if that was the issue, some of those effort areas where he switches off and he just ball watches, Queensland are going to go for him. They're going to attack him. Like, come on. Coaches don't have to give you. He's still in the squad. All right. If there's an injury, he'll get called up. And you don't want to be telling everyone why it was that you made him 20th man. So, yeah, probably the most. Everyone is the most passionate about this call. But again, Loz, maybe, question mark. Cordner, yeah, he sees the game differently. Who am I to criticize what he thinks is lacking in a back rower? So, all right. Next call. Obviously, this was a forced decision with Stephen Crichton having to pull out. I'm not sure if he would have been selected anyway, but he's he's been struggling with the AC injury. I don't know even know how he played game one, but if anyone's going to get called up, I think a lot of people are happy about Casey McLean. We got a taste to see how he would handle the Origin arena when Kohler came off with the HIA. He was replaced by McLean, and he played great. And he played great in that 23 minutes. So he gets his opportunity now to start in the centers. I think he's paired up with Kohler. And, I personally would have preferred Casey McLean on the wing, Kohler in the centers, because Casey McLean is more of an aerial threat. Not only an aerial threat, but, defensively, he can attack those high balls, on our try line. I think he offers a little bit more. He's a bigger body, so coming, returning kicks, with the back three. I think that, he proved to have a couple of strong carries off the back of kick returns. So I think having a bigger body back there, especially, I think it's forecast for it to be raining. So if it's wet, I think Kohler's speed was kind of nullified by the conditions in game one. So if it's a dry track, put him on the wing. But I think if it's wet and it's raining, you're probably better off putting McLean at the back there. Now, it's all right. He's obviously, who am I? You probably still go Kohler on the wing. I think if you're on your try line and there's a potential bomb, I think you should swap McLean and Kohler, just to take that kick. But look, it's a young back line. With these two, it's a young edge. But you got to blood them sooner or later, right? And they're proven to be superstars. So, hopefully we can just hold the ball, complete high, be disciplined, and give our backs an opportunity to play on the front foot in game two. So happy for the young man. He's been playing great. I know there was a lot of question marks over his defense leading up into Origin 1 when people were throwing his name out to start in the centers, but I don't think there's been any issues so far in the last couple of weeks. So I didn't actually realize how good he was under the high ball until after Origin, and starting to go back and watch him closely, and I was like, yeah, he's phenomenal. So him finally getting started. Honestly, I think it would be better to swap them because he's much more dangerous under the high ball. But I'm sure they're going to do a great job. They may swap during the game. Who knows? A lot of people question marks over Mitchell Moses. I think he's got until Thursday to prove his fitness. He's obviously going to be the 5'8" for game one. Had to pull out because of injury. Ethan Strange stepped up, had a phenomenal game. If Cleary wasn't the man of the match, then Strange would have definitely been. But yeah, so a lot of people are questioning after a game like Strange had, how can you put him back on the bench? Look, he's young. He's going to play for years. ahead. He's going to play for years. He'll be in the system, in the squad for years. Um, but I do feel like we need Mitchell Moses' kicking game. I think Cameron Munster kicked the ball 10 times for like 300 and something meters, and Sam Walker kicked the ball 15 times for like 400 and something meters. Compared to New South Wales, Cleary kicked the ball 21 times for 600 and something meters, and Ethan Strange only kicked it once, like for 40 meters, 42 meters. And you need another, like, Cleary can't do that much kicking. You need another kick threat. You need another option. I think it's just too easy for the defense to target Cleary. He's only one person going to kick it, so you might as well just chase him. And then much easier for the back three to track the kick because it's going to Cleary, right? So I'll just stack his edge. So yeah, I think that's if he's fit, Mitchell Moses is fit, and we still got Ethan Strange. I'm sure Ethan Strange is gonna, Laurie is gonna find a way to inject Ethan Strange. People are talking about, and we're going to talk about Reece Walsh being named in the side. Like, you're worried about Reece Walsh coming on with tied forwards. Well, imagine Ethan Strange coming on with tied forwards. Imagine the damage he can do. He can play lock. I think he can cover centers in the halves. So. Yeah, I have no doubt he'll find his way onto the field. Again, a lot of people. Don't forget, Queensland got to a 20-point head start. We came back because of the send off. If we had lost that game, no one would probably question this selection. All right, so let's not all be like so focused on the game. Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, but Mitchell Moses still adds to the team. Again, he shares the workload there. He's a great runner of the ball as well. I'm hoping that he can play the whole game. But even if he can't, we've got a great player there waiting to be brought on in Ethan Strange. So, yes, that was contentious, but he still has to prove his fitness anyway, regardless, I think, by Thursday. So Payne Haas, obviously would have been there in game one. He's a mainstay of that squad. Dylan Lucas, again, taking the spot of Hamoli Olukwatu. Completely different plays. We talk about aggression, post-contact meters, all this stuff about Olukwatu. Dylan Lucas is a completely different player based on speed, line running, and I feel like that's kind of been lost in this whole naming of this squad, is looking at some of the things he does add. He's got a skill set that Hamoli doesn't. Like, I feel like Dylan Lucas will be much better at identifying a kick behind play, like kind of similar to how Hudson Young scored his first try. I feel like Dylan Lucas can anticipate those kicks behind the line a little bit better than Hamoli. Again, his line running is better than Hamoli's. He's superior. Obviously, he doesn't run over plays. He's not that kind of player. So he has to run better lines. And when I looked at this, he's going to be playing on the right? So he's going to be up against Cameron Munster, right? Defensively, Cameron Munster will be marking up against him. Dylan Lucas is a very similar player, in my opinion, to Tallis Duncan. Right? Very similar. Run good lines, fast, strong, can cover in the centers, can play left and right. So he reminds me of Tallis Duncan a lot. And if you remember the last time Tallis Duncan played, South Sydney Rabbitohs played Melbourne Storm, Tallis Duncan was just causing a nightmare for Munster. Scored 3 tries on him, ran over him. So again, I'm just that's my opinion because I'm comparing Lucas to Duncan, but he can cause a different set of headaches, a different type of headache for Munster because of his line running, because of his speed and all that. Olukwatu is fast too. So yeah, I think Dylan Lucas I think there's more balance in the fact that Dylan Lucas is a very capable center as well. I know we got Strange there on the bench, but he's a very capable center. Can play left and right, so if there's an injury with Hudson Young, I mean, he can switch over there to the left. Um, yeah, so I know a lot of people are kind of upset at this choice, and a lot of people are saying like the funny one is, oh, he's a rookie. How Ethan Strange was a rookie. You know what I mean? He had a blinder, so just because he's a rookie, he's proven that he can play. He's a good player, clubland. So him being a rookie, I don't think there's an issue. Still kind of disappointed that Cameron Murray's not starting. Again, we've been on here quite vocal about Isaiah Yeo pushing up to the front row. You could tell the difference when Cameron Murray and Victor Ellie came on in game one. Not only in attack, but there was obviously a shift in defense. They kind of tightened up that ruck area a lot more. And I feel like Cameron Murray's defensive work. We need him to start. Like, he's so good at the cleanup work. He's so good at I was kind of reflecting on this the other day, and I was reflecting on the way he plays and his mentality in defense. Like, he went to Newington College. Again, this is just an opinion. He went to Newington College, played union and schoolboy rugby. And the way he kind of hustles is almost like a rugby union player that has to, there's a sense of urgency to get to the breakdown, to get to, to fetch the ball, to rock the ball. I'm not a union expert, so forgive me if I butchered some of these terminology, but I feel like he kind of approaches defense that way. He's there cleaning up. He's always scheming around defense, plugging holes. He's doing a lot of the scrap work. So I feel like we need that. Especially when you got a Queensland side that starts off strong. It'll be good to tighten up that middle in the beginning. Queensland didn't score another try once he came on. And I get it, they were man short, but I think his defensive work has a lot to do with that. So, yeah, but look, I'm glad he's in the side. Missed him last year, and I'm glad he's in the side. I'm glad Aiden Fanua-Blake kept his spot. I think he's more dangerous coming off the bench. Queensland targeted him. He was a spot defender. I think two sets in a row, 3 sets in a row. They ran at him like 6-7 times, and they gassed him. They actually scored a try off the back of that. So I think him coming off the bench when forwards are a little bit tired, and his late footwork will cause a few issues there. Upper side Coruscant obviously called in because of the injury to Blake Brayley, who I personally believe had a phenomenal game one. Personally, I would have started him over Robson if he was fit for this game. There's had better ruck recognition, all that sort of stuff. Jumped out, very crafty, fast but direct. Out of dummy half, Brayley was. And I'm sure Coruscant is Coruscant. Everyone knows what he's capable of. One of the craftiest hookers that's ever played the game. So yeah, it'll be interesting when he comes on again with tight forwards. He's going to do a lot of damage there. Despite he hasn't had the best preparation, especially with the 68-0 flogging last week to the Penrith Panthers. But we know what he's capable of, and I'm sure he's going to do a great job for the Blues. Ethan Strange there again, phenomenal game one. Hopefully there's a plan there to inject him into the game, and he's not just there to cover for injuries. Because again, him coming on with tight forwards in the last 30 minutes, 25 minutes, is a worry. So, and it's good to see Mark Nawangani-Tawase getting the call up. He seemed like he couldn't wipe the smile off his face when he was getting interviewed by all the journos and all of that. He's very excited, and I'm actually glad that the Blues were able to look past the fact that he's going to rugby union next year. What are the chances? I think the chances are slim of him actually getting on the field, but you never know. Never know. He was that was Casey McLean last game, and he got on the field obviously because of that blatant shoulder charge by Ponga that knocked Kohler out. Um, uh, yeah, so but good to see him get a run. We'll get the call up. Hopefully, he can get a run, but you can only play 4 benches. I guess unless there's a HIA because of foul play. But then Hamola there, 20th man. It was unfortunate for him. But again, I've already given you my reasons as to why I think he could have possibly been relegated. Possibly. That's just my opinion. All right. Queensland didn't make as many changes. I'm not going to spend too much on Queensland because it's Queensland. Kalen Ponga at fullback, Cobbo, and Fafita on the wing. Tabu Waifita and Toya in the centres. Munster, Walker in the halves, front rows, Flegler, Fausu and Malaawi, and Grant at hooker. In the back row is Nikora, Capewell, and Cotta. On the bench, Max Plath, Lindsay Collins, Finefu, Iaki, Liero, Walsh, Tuolangi, and 20th man is Hillam Lukey. Happy for Lukey because he had some horrid injuries there a couple of years in a row, and to see him playing good footy with the Cowboys, so it's good to see him 20th man. I'm not sure. I don't think there's any injury concerns over any of the players leading up to Origin, so I don't know what his chances are of getting called up unless there's an injury during training, and we're not hoping for any injuries, maybe just half the team. But I guess the one that's got everyone talking is Reece Walsh on the bench. Like, is this, with this decision, is this Slater admitting that he got it wrong in game 1? But again, Walsh is going to be a concern if Billy does find a way to inject him into the game around, if he comes in late and there's tired forwards, that's going to be a concern. So hopefully there's no situation in the game where Walsh gets on the field. I know a lot of his form has been questioned at Clubland, and but this is just players that as soon as they put on a Queensland jersey or New South Wales jersey, they just play out of their skin, a la Dan Gay guy. So again, I'm not gonna touch it. It's good to see Finefu get the call up. I think he was the 20th man in game 1, if I'm correct. Good to see him get the call up. Max Plath, I think, off the bench. It's probably better. Ruben Cotter's back to his normal position back there at lock. And I think they're going to miss Carrigan. Obviously, some of these changes, Carrigan was the main injury over the last couple of weeks, and they're going to miss him. Not only the Broncos, but Queensland are going to miss him. So again, it's pretty much an unchanged side, which is interesting considering they lost. So you think they'd have 5-6 changes, but still a well-balanced side. I guess they're covering for injuries, sin bins or send-offs, blatant send-offs, shoulder to head send-offs. But not really concerned. I think we made some changes to hopefully overcome a poor start. Hopefully. And we'll see how we go. So looking forward to it. We're only like a week away from it all. Hopefully we can wrap up the season, the series in Melbourne, because I really don't want to go up to Queensland for the decider. Albeit we have one up there, 2024. So I'm just double checking. Yeah, just wanted, for some reason I was like, are we playing in Melbourne? Yeah, we are playing at the MCG. So, it's going to be a great game. Okay, let's not get too caught up in it. It's just a game of footy, guys. It's just a game of footy. Don't come after me in the comments when I clip some of these things. It's just a game of footy. All right. Probably just want to, before... I'm not sure if I'm going to go through all the round reviews. Just maybe make this episode about Origin. But I want to talk about the Kieran Foran signing as the head coach for the next 3 years. He signed He took on the interim coaching role this year after 3 straight losses to start the year off by the Manly Sea Eagles under Anthony Seibold. He took over, and I think they've won 8 out of their last 10 games. Two of those losses was against Penrith by I think 2 points, close game, and possibly 2 points again against Cronulla. So they're not getting smashed. They're competing all the way to the end, even in their losses. So it's just, I think this will never be done again, where a player retires and then gets hired as a head coach the following year. And you know what? There's only certain players that could do that. I believe Foreign's up there. Foreign's up there to be, he's just got this aura about him, this sense of professionalism, this work ethic that's admirable. I think Cameron Smith could have done it. Billy Slater could have done it. JT probably could have done it. Not saying that they would have wanted those roles anyway, but there's certain players that could coach a first grade team, Johns, and all that. But yeah, it's just amazing to see how quick his career progressed. People heavily criticized Manly's decision to sack their coach after 3 games. But the way they were playing on the Seabold, I didn't see any improvement. They made a call. And there was the right call. And I know a lot of people bag Seabold, and that he can't coach this and that, blah blah blah. But Foreign made a comment, interesting comment. I think on 100% Footy, where he said that he may have changed. He made changes tactically, with the game plan and all that sort of stuff. But he wouldn't have been able to do it if Seabold didn't get them fit enough. If the team wasn't conditioned to be able to perform at a high level, it doesn't matter what Foreign would have implemented, they wouldn't have been as successful. And he's right. So even though I think there were questions over Seabold's strategies and some of his game philosophies, I think he was so focused on the speed out wide rather than the forwards going forwards. It's rugby league 101. The forwards are called the engine room for a reason. As the saying goes, the forwards dictate who wins the game, and the backs dictate by how much. Seabold deserves some credit for at least getting them, for prepping them throughout the off season. Yeah, there are questions over his strategies and all that sort of stuff, his game management, but he Foreign wouldn't be able to do unless he had prepared them, prepared that squad. And obviously, it's been a refreshing change. The community love Foz up there in the Northern Beaches. Foz ball has caught on. No one's talking about Benji ball as much, but Foz ball. He's a phenomenal coach. He's going to be a long-time coach. It's just going to be interesting to see how he handles, a few back-to-back losses. We haven't seen how he's going to react to that. But what's the thing? The thing that I'm looking forward to now, him re-signing, is obviously now he's got a bit more control over the recruitment, who he brings up through the juniors, the retention process, the recruitment process. So now he can actually build his squad. So he's doing phenomenal already with the squad that was given to him. But now, he can... I can't see many players that he's going to want to move on anyway. But, now he can start building, start recruiting, start developing juniors, bringing through who he wants, retaining who he wants, recruiting who he wants. And so if he's already doing good now with the squad that was given to him, it's going to be interesting to see some of his decisions that he makes moving forward when it comes to recruitment. And I know he's got all the support of the Manly board, especially Jason King over there, who they're good friends with and won a competition together with. So yeah, so I just wanted to, I guess, address that. Before, I think I'll just leave it at that. A lot of talk will be about Origin, and I just wanted to end it off with congratulating Kieran Foran, because he was a great player, and he's going to be a phenomenal coach. And I think most people, we all support our teams. But everyone's got a soft spot for Jake Trbojevic and the Trbojevic boys. And I think if Souths don't win it, I wouldn't mind seeing them win a comp. So congratulations to Foreign and to everyone down there in Manly. They're playing great. I did note in another video. I did say if Sea Eagles are around anywhere from 4th to 6th, maybe 7th, when Turbo gets back, they can push for the top 4. I did say that I don't think they can finish higher than top 4, but they're currently sitting at top 4 without Turbo, so they can finish second. Yeah, they can finish second if they're late push into the finals with a healthy Turbo. I still stand by that. So yeah. Oh well. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I'm not going to go into much into every round. Maybe I'll just go into my predictions for next round. Bunnies against the Broncos. Bunnies. We need to win. Dolphins versus the Roosters. Roosters. Warriors versus Sharks. Warriors. Eels versus Raiders. Maybe Eels if Mitchell Moses is playing. Tigers versus the Titans. Who would have thought people would say the Titans? But they've had a couple of good weeks. And that's it. So, all right. Hopefully by the next podcast, actually, I think by the next podcast it'll be before game 2, so we won't be celebrating yet. But I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Make sure to follow us on all the social media platforms on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and you can watch all our full-length episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. All right, stay blessed.